that some stories, well, they're just accidents waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this New Jersey case, you know. State of New Jersey versus Charlie Wingate and Kelvin Leerdam. The court documents here.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, get ready, Ray. Jealousy, robbery, a man's life cut short, this whole thing.
Yeah, you always wonder, like, what's that tipping point?
Exactly.
Where did it all go wrong? And this case, I think, really highlights how easily things can spiral, you know, just from like a simple act of, well, showing off, I guess.
Okay, so we're talking about Alan Plowden.
Right.
He's a guy who, let's just say, enjoyed the finer things in life.
Yeah.
Right. And it's his interactions with Gina Conway. She's an exotic dancer.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, that's where everything kind of kicks off.
That's our catalyst.
Right. So Plowden's, you know, flashing cash, taking Conway shopping.
I see.
He even, like, shows off this Louis Vuitton bag. And it's not just any bag. It is stuffed with thousands of dollars. Thousands.
Not exactly low-key.
Talk about a tempting target. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, not the best idea. But you got to see it from Conway's side, too, right? She's dating this guy, Charlie Wingate, and whether she meant to or not, she spills the beans. She tells him about Plowden's money.
Oh, so she's...
Dangled the carrot.
And Wingate's, what, feeling a little,
Jealous.
Oh, yeah. Big time. And, well, that's where things go dark. We've got the jealousy. We've got the promise of easy money. Yeah. Wingate decides he's going to take what he thinks Plowden owes him somehow.
But he's not going to do it himself, right?
Right. Exactly. And that brings us to Kelvin Leerdam. Now, the documents are a little fuzzy on this point, but he's either Wingate's brother or stepbrother.
Either way, family affair, never a good sign.
Right. So Leerdam, he becomes the muscle. Wingate basically hires him to do the robbery. And, of course, they need a guide to find Plowden. Who else? Conway?
And this is where the story gets even more complicated. Because Conway, she claims the original plan, what they were going to do, it was different.
How so?
She says they were only supposed to take the money while Plowden was out.
Okay.
Like a clean, you know, non-violent thing. But things don't go quite that way, do they?
Because Leerdam shows up to the hotel room with a gun.
Yeah.
Gloves, duct tape. Not exactly your everyday essentials.
No, that's not someone popping in for tea. That, to me, screams premeditation. This wasn't some spur of the moment, oh, let's just grab some cash. This was thought out.
And that detail, that premeditation, the prosecution, they're going to use that a lot.
See, and this is where things get really messy. Because it wasn't just Plowden in that hotel room.
Oh, no.
David Taylor was there, too. Plowden's business partner. Wrong place, wrong time.
And that's when everything goes sideways. A struggle, Taylor tries to get involved, and Leerdam, he fires the gun.
Tragic, senseless. Like you said, greed and violence, they're frequent companions.
And just like that, a man is dead. Planned robbery turned fatal. So then what? We're in court now.
We're in court. And the trial, it really gives us this, well, I guess you'd call it a front row seat to how complicated it is to actually figure out the truth. Witness testimonies, they're all over the place. Everyone's got their own version of that night.
Right, like a puzzle with pieces missing.
Yeah.
So Conway, she ends up as the prosecution's star witness, right?
She does. Remember those charges against her? Well, she makes a deal, tells them everything, all the ins and outs of the plan in exchange for a lighter sentence.
Risky.
Very. But her testimony, it's key. It paints Wingate as the guy who set the whole thing in motion, the mastermind.
Okay, so we've got Conway. What about Giselle Neves? She's the other woman who was there during the robbery, right?
That's right. And her testimony, it lines up with the prosecution's case, too. She IDs Leerdam both in court and from a photo array they showed her earlier.
Solid evidence.
And there's more. She remembers a scar on Leerdam's face. A very distinct scar.
Wow. So that pretty much puts Leerdam at the scene.
Right there with him.
What about Plowden? What does he have to say?
Plowden. That's where it gets interesting. See, he couldn't identify Leerdam. Not in the photos. In fact, he actually pointed to the wrong guy at first.
No way. Talk about unreliable narrator.
It happens. Eyewitness accounts, they can be shaky. Trauma, stress, time, it all warps your memory. But here's the thing. Even though he couldn't ID Leerdam, his account of the robbery itself, that's valuable.
As context.
Exactly. Even if it wasn't perfect, it's another piece of the puzzle. Speaking of which, we can't forget about the taxi driver.
Oh, right. Mohammed Dumabengi. He was the one who drove Leerdam and Conway that night. Didn't even know what he was getting into.
Unwitting accomplice. But his testimony, as mundane as it seems, it's actually pretty important. Places Leerdam and Conway at the scene. And get this, he remembers Leerdam changing clothes after they left the hotel.
Interesting.
Why change clothes after a supposedly innocent visit? Makes you think.
Definitely suspicious.
Yeah.
But I guess the real nail in the coffin, so to speak, is the cell phone records, right?
Always. They're like a digital trail of breadcrumbs. And in this case, those breadcrumbs, well, they led straight back to the crime. They confirmed everything Conway had said about the communication between them.
Putting Wingate right at the center of it all.
Yep. Planning, coordinating, the whole 9 yards.
It's like they say, right? The devil's in the details. And man, in this case,
These details tell quite the story.
a story of the prosecution. They used to build their case. You've got the eyewitness accounts, you've got those cell phone records all pointing back to Wingate and Leerdam.
Don't forget about that premeditation. The prosecution hammered that point home. Remember those gloves, that duct tape? Leerdam went there prepared. That's not an accident, that's intent. And it seems the jury, they saw it too.
Because it's guilty, guilty, guilty all the way down.
For both of them, Wingate, Leerdam, guilty on all counts.
Now,
robbery, kidnapping.
and aggravated manslaughter.
Oh.
Which I'm still wrapping my head around. Like, that's a step down from murder, right?
It is. And I think that distinction, that's the court acknowledging the roles each of them played.
So Wingate, he's the planner, the organizer, but he wasn't actually there when Taylor was killed.
Right. And you see that reflected in the sentencing, too. Wingate gets 40 years.
40 years. That's a long time. But Leerdam,
Life sentence. He pulled the trigger, and that, unfortunately, carries the heaviest weight.
it's a harsh reminder, isn't it? That even if you're not the one who commits the act itself, being a part of something like this, it has consequences.
Yeah.
Huge consequences.
Absolutely. This whole case, it's a testament to the fact that, well, actions have reactions. It's like a ripple effect, you know? One bad decision, one moment of envy, the desire for easy money. It can all unravel so quickly, and the fallout, it impacts everyone, not just the victim, but the families, the friends. It's a web of pain.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if things had gone differently? What if Conway had never mentioned Plowden's money? What if Leerdam had left the gun at home?
It's impossible to say for sure, but it highlights something crucial. Every choice, even the ones that seem small, they matter. They can have consequences we never could have imagined.
Like a butterfly flapping its wings.
And causing a hurricane on the other side of the world. It's chaos theory in action. In this case, with all its twists and turns, the jealousy, the violence, the tragic loss of life, it forces us to confront that, to really think about our choices, the weight they carry, and the lasting impact they have, not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us.
It's a heavy thought to end on, but an important one. So to everyone listening, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. It's been, well, intense.
To say the least.
But these stories, they need to be told. They remind us that truth is complex, justice isn't always black and white, and that sometimes the most valuable lessons come from the darkest corners of the human experience. Until next time, everyone, stay curious, but stay safe.